set up here. How you doing, Skinner? You still there, buddy? So welcome to the live Q&A. Are you still there, Skinner? I'm just gonna check here. Oh, okay, gone. Okay, sorry, just YouTube is a little bit rough getting on here today, so having a little bit of trouble getting on there. Hey, Skinner, is that you? You on still? Who's on here? Hey, Nikos, or Nikos. Sorry, I'm just doing a new setup here, just trying to get the phone stabilized here. Hey, how are you? Anton, how are you? Okay, good to see you guys. Well, 12 people on already. Well, it's fast. Just gotta wait you out. It's almost like I'm waiting for everybody to show up to my living room here. Tim Evchi. Yeah, I haven't painted in the background yet here. We gotta paint this room. So this is like the media room where I do all my editing and stuff. So haven't done this. So that's why you see these splotches on the wall. We gotta sand this down, put some new colors on the wall here. Yeah, thanks, Robert. You're saying, hi mate, you're the best. It's so nice to hear that because man, I've been getting overwhelming. I'm gonna hate this week. So it's nice to hear some positivity once in a while. So thanks. Yeah, it's astounding. Once I got on the internet, how much hatred I took on the internet. It's crazy. So yeah, it's nice to see some positive stuff here. Not watching Eurovision? What's Eurovision, Tim? You're asking me if I'm watching Eurovision. What's that? Hey, Francesco, how are you? Yeah. Thanks, Nikos. Yeah. No, you know, that's one thing that's kind of puzzling me. I don't know Eurovision, or I don't know that, Tim. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know it. Yeah, it's funny. I get some really good, positive people like yourself that love my channel. They're like, oh, why do you only have 6,000 subscribers? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how to, in this day and age, how to get channels going anymore. It seems like there's more competition than ever. So, oh, Eurovision music competition for Europe. Okay, no, I've never heard of it. Yeah, I'm not in any sort of scene, just so you know, Tim. I kind of create my own stuff, but I'm not really in some sort of scene where I am in the know, you know, like a lot of people that are in social media and stuff, they're going to expos all over the place. Me, I like to stay in one spot and do my routine. I'm not really an expo person. But who knows? Who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe one day I'll be, you know, visiting you guys or something, or putting something on here. I don't know. Hey, Peter Naslund, how are you? So so what do you guys want to talk about today? What do you want to talk about? I made some chicken this week, so of course you guys saw that because I had a bunch of people asking me about cooking videos, and I warned you, I'm not a cook, I just cook to eat, right? So, you know. Yeah, not Jason Gallant, that's funny. Hey, what's up, how are you? You can compete one day. Yeah, one day maybe I will compete. I'm doing pretty good, Francesco. And, okay. Do the twist double bicep. Okay, I don't know what that twist double, that must be an autocorrect thing. Okay, so thanks, glad to be a loser. You liked my cooking video. Yeah, I'll be doing some liver pretty soon here. Some liver and onions or whatever, but like cut the chicken, not the fingers, that's right. And it's so funny, there was somebody that's a friend of ours one of my meditation students actually, she just posted the next day of her son. He was in cooking class and he got stitches on his finger because he cut his fingers. So it was kind of funny. I must have been tapping into something there that day, you know, just saying, hey, don't cut the fingers. Because I've cut the fingers quite a bit. And like I said, I got to get a cutting board, a different cutting board, because that cutting board that I have just slides all over the place. Not very good. So, but yeah, it's a good kitchen anyway. There's lots of light, so it's a lot easier to do cooking videos there rather than a cramped little place I had before. So yeah, I'll show you guys how not to cook. Maybe how not to cook. Maybe you're like, wow, that stuff just tastes like crap. Okay, so maybe I'll learn what not to do from my videos. I don't know. Nikos Chamuzas, you passed your judo exams. Nice, nice. Hey Cameron, how are you? And not Jason Gallant. What's up with the cats? They're around. Actually, there's been so much rain out here lately. It's funny. We're in a beach town, and we're right by the lake. But the thing is, there's been so much rain. This weather's been horrible. you know, and it's not too far away from where I lived before. I'm only about an hour drive from where I lived before. So the rain is just horrible all through Vancouver. It's just horrible right now. So rain and sun, rain, back and forth. It's like the weather doesn't know what it's doing. So yeah, one of the cats got stuck out in the storm. Just came in totally, like, it looked like a mop, like a cat mop when she came in. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah. So Robin, yeah, nice. You saw the nutrition video too a few days back. Yeah, that's right. Basically on nutrition, does it affect your motivation? So Tim Evchi, doesn't eating bland food bore you? Yeah, bland food does bore me, but that's why I spice it up. Like I like hot sauces, like you know, sriracha and Frank's Red Hot Sauce or uh, Tabasco sauce, or sometimes I'll use jalapenos or vegetables in there. I'll use, you know, the bouillon the stuff that basically it's like a chicken soup stock, right? And you put that in there. That helps make stuff taste better. You can even put that in rice and stuff. So yeah, there's little tricks to do it. Or I use low-fat dressings and things. So the food isn't really that bland. It just seems really bland, you know. But I find when you eat a little bit of a lower-fat diet, you'll notice that the flavors pop out for you a lot more so than eating super high-fat diets. Like if you go to a restaurant and they use a lot of fat, a lot of cooking oils and everything, you'll notice that it almost kills some of the flavor. So yeah, I don't get too bored of it. I do like to change things up though. That's why I'll have liver, I'll have chicken, I'll have steak, I'll have, you know, different things. And that's why I like sushi and I like different, you know, variety here and there. I mean, eating, if it's just the same meal, you know, 4 times a day, then I'd probably get a little bit sick of it. But it just depends what your purpose is at the time, right? Sometimes I get more sick of going to the gym and feeling like crap. And that's what happens if I eat shitty. You know, I'll just go there and I'll just be out of breath the whole time, you know? Ronald Bastio is saying, what do I think about people that eat lots of junk food and fat to gain weight and then turn this weight into muscle to be big fast? That technique never worked for me because what I found, like today, for instance, you know, full disclosure here, I went to a breakfast restaurant that's close to my house. I just went down there. It's only a 5-minute walk from my house. And I went there because a friend of mine's looking at buying a restaurant in this area. So he wanted me to go in there. So I used it as an excuse, and I had some bacon and eggs this morning. So bacon and eggs and some toast and hash browns and stuff, not exactly the best bodybuilding meal, but if you do it once in a while, no problem, right? So anyway, I came home and I did some back training in the garage and a little bit of bicep training. And I just felt out of breath the whole time. It was like my body was just not liking digesting this heavy, fatty food at the same time as working out. So for me, that type of technique never worked because it always killed my energy levels. When I had too much fat, too much carbs together, it was like I was out of breath all the time in the gym and I just could not manifest the energy. I manifested a lot of motivation for a nap, but not necessarily the energy. And that's exactly what I did. I made a video on this week. Can nutrition affect your motivation? Please watch that video. If you haven't watched that video yet, watch it and you'll get an understanding of what I do and why I do it. So yeah, do you need some extra calories or extra food to build muscle? Yes, you do. You don't want to be focused on 4% body fat all the time, you know, or trying to be super lean, because if you are trying to be super lean all the time, your body will always be at some sort of deficit or just on the borderline, but it will never feel like it has enough calories to be able to put on muscle mass. So you do want to have extra food, but there's no reason why you should be going up to 30% body fat or 25% body fat to do that, right? If you already are at 10% or 15% body fat, you probably have enough body fat for your body to know it's not in a danger level or starvation level, so it still would probably feel that it's okay to put on muscle, right? At least that's the way it's been for me. Good. Yeah, Ratu's doing good. Yeah. Am I a bodybuilder? Not Jason Gallant. Okay. I don't know why you're asking me that question. Not Jason Gallant. Do you want to elaborate? What do you mean by not? Am I a bodybuilder? Have you been to this channel at all? Have you seen any of the videos or anything? Skinner's asking for what advice for bigger forearms. Uh, you know, I honestly, genetically, I just had bigger forearms. So just gripping stuff. I got a lot of forearm work where some guys don't. And of course, I'm built differently, right? So my attachments and stuff are different. But I'd say hammer curls, you know, you can do wrist curls and all this kind of stuff. I never have, honestly. But if you grip heavy weight over a period of time, it should develop the forearms because you have to, you know, the forearm, all the muscles in here are actually being activated by gripping, right? Okay, so Some guy on here is mimicking my brother, and he is not my brother, just so you know. So he's just basically stole a profile pic, and so I'm just gonna block him. See, some people are, doing all this kind of crap where they're basically stealing people's profile pictures and just doing this stupid immature kindergarten shit where they're pretending to be somebody. Yeah. Anyway, I need the Bolo app. Let me just go up here. Okay, so Cameron D. Hey Jason, I always forget to ask this question, but I remember this time. How did you get the scar on your stomach? Was it from a prior surgery? It was from when I was 9 years old. I had a hernia. I used to get this really bad cough every winter, and later on I actually figured out it was because I was protein deficient. And basically when I started eating more protein, then I didn't have that cough anymore. It just totally disappeared when I was a young man, when I started eating better. But when I was a kid, I used to get this cough in the fall every year. I used to cough really hard. And then at the same time, I was doing a lot of chin-ups as a kid, and I was like doing a flexed arm hang, and my abs were really sore, and then I coughed, and then I think I tore my stomach that way. So yeah, I had a hernia when I was like 9. That's where the scar came from. Connor Miskovich, advice on how to build big wide shoulders. Shoulder presses, lateral raises, a lot of rear delt work. Rear delt work really helps build the bowling ball or the softball type roundness to the shoulder. So a lot of people will train a lot of shoulder pressing type movements, but they'll totally forget about the rear delts and the side delts. And the side delts are important, but I'd say the rear delts are the most important. The rear delts and the rotator cuff muscles, right? Okay, not Jason Gallant is like, I'm following your other channel, not the one I put my music on. Yeah, which music are you talking about? Because I have about 5 or 6 channels, and most of the channels aren't really active, but I have one that has some meditation music on there, and then I have one that's more for meditation, and then I have one that has some hip hop stuff that I was messing around with before when I was learning how to, make music. But the off the hook of music, that is actually on this channel. That's on this channel, Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, right? So, yeah. Yeah, that's this channel, not Jason Gallant. That's this channel. So I will be putting that music into an album at some point, and then if somebody wants to use that music in a video or something like that, then you have to email me, and then we'll work out the details, right? So you have to give me attribution and all this kind of stuff and link to where they can get it as well. So at some point I'll have that in an album. I have 2 albums on my website, naturalgallantbodybuilding.com right now that you can purchase for listening. But if you want to use it for some sort of video or something like that, then send me an email and then we'll figure that out, the details. Okay, but I will have that other album up after I make a few more songs. I only have about 4 songs ready for the next album, so I need about 6 more songs. Yeah. Hey G Monkey, how you doing? William Johnson Dre, what do I like more, low volume or high? I like low volume or lower volume, higher frequency. I tend to respond better to that. I find it's easier for me to get the energy to do it. And I find I maintain a better pump and a feeling of well-being through the body doing that. But I do like to add volume from time to time because volume does also cause the muscles to adapt in a different way and also gain. Okay, so I like both, but as a general rule, I do like a little bit of a higher frequency with a lower volume. Favorite muscle to train? My favorite muscle to train is chest, and I train it all the time. But it is also something I need to train in order to bring it up to match some of the other levels or parts of my physique at this point. But yeah, I love training chest. Chest is like one of my favorite body parts to train. Biceps were actually one of my favorite muscles to train before too, and I don't mind training biceps. I do like training biceps. But once I dislocated the shoulder, the mind muscle connection is different in the bicep because now the bicep's trying to stabilize the shoulder at the same time. So I have to say mentally, it's a lot more work for me to train arms than it used to be. Whereas before it was like everything was stabilized because the joint was stable, right? So because there was no tear of a labrum in there, it was a lot easier to just train. Now I have to stabilize everything, think about where my shoulders are, all this kind of stuff. So it has changed quite a bit, right? So that's why I always say train the muscles, not the joints. And adapt and respond to what's going on in your body because your body does change. Sometimes the injuries or different types of things that happen to you, this will change how you have to concentrate on the movement. It'll change your I guess, what's the word? I mean, it will change your torque curve. It'll change the ideal range for you, or the place where you get the most mind muscle connection, or the place in the movement where you get the most pump, right? No, I don't train Renee. I know Renee, but I don't train Renee, no. Renee should be so lucky. Hey, Renee? G Monkey, I always say I never count calories. How do you really know if you're taking in enough calories to grow muscle? Well, if you're putting on fat, you're taking in too much calories. And I just say, are you putting on muscle? If you're not putting on muscle, then you know, okay, maybe you need to put in some more food. If you're not putting up, like say you're losing body weight. Say every week you check your weight and you're losing like 2, 3, 4 pounds a week, and you're not looking bigger, you're actually looking flatter, your strength is going down. Well, guess what? You probably do need to gain or to eat some more food, right? So I just look at what's happening in my body. And if you're a bodybuilder and you want to put on muscle, just look at, are you putting on muscle? And if you're not, increase the food for a bit and see what happens. Increase the protein for a bit, increase a little bit of the carbs, see how you feel, and then respond that way. But it's not like a general template. I find the templates are only made for blind people, and we're all blind at first when we start something. You need a template, like, turn right, turn left, just follow the map. But you want to really respond to what's happening in your body. And how I know if I'm eating enough or not is that if I have no energy when I go to the gym, if I feel like I'm flat, I'm not getting a pump, I'm not having any sort of power, I feel weak, I know something's wrong. So if I've gotten enough sleep, if I'm not tired, I'm not sleepy, then maybe there's a food problem, right? So then I adjust my food, then I increase my food. Now, if I increase my food and then I start to actually put on body fat, then I'm like, okay, well maybe I increase my food a little bit too much and then I cut back a little bit, right? So that's how I adjust it, right? Hey there, Hector. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. Nikos Chimozas, do I know Greek souvlaki? Yeah, I like souvlaki, it's great. Dan Summerhill, how many grams of protein do I eat a day? Probably around 140, 150 grams. That's probably an average what I'm eating. Sorry, just taking care of shitheads here. Okay, Andreas G, do you even go in Muscle Beach in California? California is about a 3-hour flight for me and about a whole day, like 18-hour drive. So no, I don't go down there. I've been there. I've been there quite a few times. I used to go there and do photo shoots and stuff back in the day before social media when everybody was internet famous. Back then you had to go earn your fame. You had to go find the people that were going to get you in the magazines or get you in the movies or something. And I travel down to California and meet photographers and then do photo shoots and things. So back in the day, that's how I got on the internet as far as what the internet was then. And it was called a magazine, and it was made of paper and had photographs in it. So that was the old internet. Now it's new, right? Now it's all Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and Snapchat and all that. Okay, Trollman Greasy is saying, for me, what is the best amount of days to train? I'd say 5 to 6. It just depends on how heavy I'm training and how I'm feeling at the time. But I find about 6 days a week is about perfect for me, even if I'm just getting a light pump or something. But if I need an extra day off, then I take the day off. So 5 to 6, I'd say, is the best. If I only train 3 or 4, I find that I feel out of shape. I don't feel really good. I don't feel really pumped. I feel like I'm just getting back into the swing of things, almost like I have to warm up again for a whole workout before I feel like I'm really working out. I find that I function much better as a daily routine. It's my workout is more holistic rather than a hammer over the head. It's like, take a nap and then get out of bed and then sprint, right? That's what it feels like when I only work out 3 days a week or something. So I find I respond much better if I'm working out more often, even if they're easier workouts, but I'm always pumping that blood through the body. Easy as a guy, how's the new house? Yeah, it is feeling good. The new house is great. I mean, it's in a totally different area, so the patterns are all changing. I have to drive 25 minutes to the gym or to go to the butcher shop or, that kind of stuff. So that takes a little bit more time out of my day. But at the same time, the space and the peace out here is really nice. So it's worth it. And I have more space to be able to get creative when it comes down to making videos or hobbies, painting. I can start painting again. I start doing some art that way. And so in long run, this is a much better decision for us. And like I said, it's just a much quieter area. The area where we were living, and I mean, this is probably going on all over the States and the rest of the world too, but in Vancouver, they have a skid row in Vancouver that's like one of the worst skid rows in all of North America. And as you move outwards from Vancouver, it's almost like this skid row has started to infiltrate a lot of the different towns. And there's a lot of normal people, and it's not like we have gangland territory or anything like that, but there is a lot of addiction problems and a lot of homeless problems and a lot of crime and stuff associated with that happening when you get closer to Vancouver. So as you move outwards, there's just a lot of this stuff going on. So it's nice to be out here because it's away from a lot of that drama, right? Okay, so Trollman Greasy's saying if he works a physical job, how many days do you recommend working out? He's asking. So it depends what type of physical job, because a physical job doesn't always mean the same thing. One person that's a letter carrier, that's walking 20 miles or 10 miles a day or something, that's a different type of physical activity than somebody that's lifting 200 pounds over their head regularly, or 150 pounds or 100 pounds. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. Like when I was doing basement work, like foundation work, and packing forms down into a hole up and down all day, and each time I was packing about 200 pounds or 180 pounds, 160 pounds worth of forms on one side of my back and walking awkwardly down a muddy hill up and down. That's a whole other level of intensity as opposed to somebody just mowing a lawn, which is still intense, but it's different, right? So it just depends what type of activity you're doing. But I'd say it depends also what muscles you're working. If you're working your shoulders and you're working your biceps constantly, the last thing you'd probably want to do is go to the gym and start doing biceps every day after you've already done biceps all day. You probably don't really need to. I would say do the heavy work on the biceps once a week or something, but seeing as you're always pumping blood into the biceps all week, I wouldn't really concern yourself with doing heavy workouts on that. So it also just depends on what muscle groups you're working and what muscle groups are getting hit. That's really the point. And front delts tend to get hit a lot. Say if you're doing a lot of overhead stuff and you're lifting stuff over your head all the time. So you see a lot of construction guys, if they're doing drywall or lifting stuff over their head and stuff, the shoulders will get actually a decent amount of development. The last thing they need is more front delt work when they go to the gym. If anything, I'd recommend more rear delt work, maybe some chest work, because they're not getting chest, like pushing straight forward, or decline type work, they're not getting that. So I'd recommend the muscle groups that you're not working, that's what you want to concentrate on if you do go to the gym. And you might need an extra day or two off from the gym, right? So the average person might have to train 5 days, 6 days, whatever. But because you're always active, you might be able to get away with only 3 days of workouts a week, because you're going to need that recovery because you're always moving, right? Andreas G, do I hate cardio? I don't hate cardio. I just don't. I'm a practical person. I do things because they work or they don't work, and it depends on what the purpose is. If I'm going to go become a hockey player, then I'd love cardio, because now cardio makes me feel better on the ice, because now I don't feel like I'm stepping on my tongue when I'm skating, right? But if I do cardio and I'm running and pounding the joints and stuff, and then I go try to squat, and then my back is killing me, my hips are killing me, and at the same time I feel like I'm emaciating myself, I'm actually not even getting leaner, I'm actually getting small fat, then I know that that type of exercise is not the right thing for me in order for my body to adapt and build muscle and look lean and look bodybuilderish, right? So it all depends on the purpose. So it's not about love or hate, it's more about what works. And what works for me, and the faster metabolism you have, the worse this will be. So if you're a hard gainer, cardio is going to be the worst possible thing for you, especially at higher intensities if you do it a lot. Whereas I know some guys, they're trainers to the stars or something, a few guys I know, and they're always like running on the beach because it looks good and stuff like that. But the thing is that running never worked for me. Running or pounding the joints or doing excessive cardio just burned muscle off for me. I could not maintain the muscle mass. Now the unnatural guys might be able to get away with it a little bit more so, because they've got all these different assisters in their system going on where their body does not become catabolic quite so easily, right? So under those circumstances, maybe the rules are different. But for a natural guy, cardio can be a very good thing for an athlete, but it's not necessarily the best thing for a bodybuilder. So if you're going to do cardio, keep it at a lower intensity so you're getting that blood flow. Yes, you're getting your heart rate going, but you're not burning off that muscle tissue. Now, if you're a person that naturally is extremely overweight, then I would say, hey, you know what? You could probably get away with doing some excessive cardio. Maybe you are more an endomorph, a person that naturally puts on weight very easily, and maybe intense cardio is a good thing for you. So for me, I'm not an endomorph. I'm more of a guy that has a semi-fast metabolism or a medium metabolism anyway, you know. And because of that, then I find cardio just pounds the crap out of my joints, and at the same time burns off some muscle tissue that I don't want to burn off. Yeah, Frank Peters. Yeah, I'm glad to see you're doing a lot of raises and getting bigger traps from that. Yeah, you do actually work some traps when you're doing lateral raises. There's no doubt about it. Uh, so it all depends on how you do things. There's so many different ways to do a lateral raise, so many different ways, and it just a lot of people just don't experiment. They say there's one right way, but the tragedy of that is that you're not actually experimenting, saying what is the natural way my body wants to move. And yeah, there's going to be some efficient ways and some ways that will break you, and you will find out pretty quickly. But you know, I see a lot of guys doing these front raises and stuff, and for some of them that works fine. But for me, I never did front raises my whole life. I never did them. I've only played around with it a few times just to see how this feels, right? And right now it feels horrible on this right shoulder because of the labral tear. But the fact is that most of my life I never did any of this kind of stuff because I was already doing a lot of front delts when it came down to doing chest exercises or military press or doing any sort of pressing movement. I was already working my front delt, so I never saw the point. Also, I found that it felt kind of weird on the shoulder, almost like grindy, like it's almost like impinging the bicep tendon, right? So I decided not to do any of those types of things. So I see guys, you know, doing this front delt thing to death, and I don't really see the point. But, you know, depending on how you're built, right? I'm always open. Everybody's built a little differently, so maybe they need to do that, right? Okay, Nikos Chimoses, why don't I cut my hair? They don't hit you when you are training. Who hits me? Who hits me? Nikos, what do you mean? I know you're probably doing a autocorrect thing on your phone or something, or maybe it's a spell check thing or something. Rashab Jain, is there any exercise training style I could do when I was young and can't do anymore? No, the only thing I can do is throw a tennis ball or baseball really hard because, you know, the hockey injury of my shoulder. But no, it's not nothing to do with age has actually affected me. It's not age. It's just that my body showed me at a very fast and aggressive way what worked well for me and what didn't. If anything, I'm in the best shape of my life when it comes down to the way my body moves and how I feel, how my energy runs and everything. But when I was younger, I could lift a little bit heavier because now basically my shoulders were in alignment, right? So now when I'm bench pressing, it's like I'm bench pressing sideways a little bit because of the way my shoulders are sitting. So that's kind of thrown off my bench press groove. But otherwise, everything's pretty good. Yeah. Sorry, it's just always hard to get the comments to come up here. Nikos Chimoza, you mean my hair? I know you mean my hair. So okay, why would I cut my hair? I don't care about cutting my hair. Why do you cut your hair? Seems like more effort to cut hair than it is to let it to grow. It's more natural. I'm a natural bodybuilder, man. I let my hair grow. I shouldn't even shave. I know somebody's been bugging me to grow a beard too, but yeah, no, I don't know. I know that we're in this age where everybody is obsessing about how you should look, and they want to change a bodybuilding channel into a fashion channel. They want to change. They think somehow everybody is accountable to looking the way that pop culture is telling them to look right now. So you'll see bodybuilding channels, guys that are like 20, 30 pounds lighter and smaller than me, but they're doing great just because their hair is shaved on the sides and they got the nice Metro shirt on or some bullshit, you know. This is the sickness that's going on in our society, is that people will say, oh, do you drive a Ferrari? Good, that means you're a good doctor. You know, they got these weird kind of measuring systems that are going on that have nothing to do with what the fuck the person is talking about, right? And that's like basically saying I have a good driveway, that means that I'm a good bodybuilder. You know, it's like the same thing. So yeah, I find people get too fixated on these details. They just think that you should look a certain way or be a certain way, and it's always something fucking different than what you are right now, and that's the problem I have with it. So the more people tell me to cut my hair, the less I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. The more people tell me that I should be something, I say, no, whatever I am is just fucking fine. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. Yeah, I don't need, yeah, no, a man bun will make me look bigger, yeah. I don't, again, I've never been in style, so I don't think I'm ever going to start. My style is my style and it's who I am, and I'm just doing what's comfortable for me. So if you look at comfort, that's me. I don't do style. It's not that I don't like suits and ties and nice shirts and things. I think, I think that basically that I like those types of things, but the effort required to wear one of those things in the gym is just too much. So, and also the other thing is that people don't know, because I have a twin brother, this makes it easy for people to tell us apart. So when I have longer hair and stuff, and then they look at him and he's got short hair, then like, oh, okay, I know which guy I'm talking to here. Because not everybody's observant enough to see the subtle differences between the two of us. So there's also that as well. But honestly, I just like it. I just don't have to worry about hair products or anything. I just tie it back and that's it. I'm done. That's my big beauty secret in the day, right? So yeah. I think, the other thing is also, I wanted to talk about this because, I've been getting a lot of hate, because people always say, you're an ugly motherfucker, or they'll say something like that all the time. And, and I think that it's really relevant. Like, I wouldn't try to put really nice rims on a bicycle, like, why should I even attempt to make this look good? It's like whatever it looks like is just fine. So hopefully that you guys, if you can accept me the way I am, maybe you can accept you the way you are, and then I think the world will be a much happier place that way. And I think on the internet, everybody's been getting so compared all the time. They get so compared, and I think every one of the younger guys that's coming up right now is getting just totally beat to death on this whole comparison. They're supposed to be this guy or supposed to be that guy, and they're just obsessing about how they're not that person. But what if they were just fine the way they are? I think that's so important. So that's why you'll see me resist a lot of the stuff that says I have to be something different than what I already am. It's never about shunning the relationship with you guys. I always want to be in relationship with you guys, especially you guys that are open enough to accept me the way I am, or to say, hey, this guy's not so bad. I'm 43 there, Karairu, and but it's nice to be able to accept people the way they are, and then see as you nourish or nurture what they are, and see how it grows and what it naturally becomes, instead of saying it needs to become something that is like this person over here, right? Like somebody's got to be another bodybuilder. They got to look exactly like them, and just, yeah, you can't be a leader that way. That's for sure. Yeah. And I know, Nicholas, that's not where your comment was coming from. So I'm sure that's not. Yeah, so don't worry, I'm not taking it that way. But I'm just explaining to you why I do what I do and why I am, the way I am, right? Anthony's saying, would I say I would be the same size now if I had bad genetics, but with the same knowledge as I have now? No, I would not look the same, because if you have different genetics, it will change the way you look. You will not be the same. I mean, it's not like you can't just take your body, because I know Anthony, Anthony, I'm going to talk to you directly here. There's a mental sickness that most people have, and it attracts, the bodybuilding lifestyle attracts a lot of these people where they think that their own genetics are broken somehow, and they try to become something else. So they're basically trying to hate their body into being something other than what they are. And that is tragic, and that is a problem. So it's nice to refine, to train, to build a relationship with your body, and to see how beautiful it becomes in its own way. But you will never be able to be the same as something else or somebody else. You'll always be a little bit different, right? Even my brother and I, we're twins, but we have different body types. There's a lot of different parts of our bodies that are not the same. So it's the same thing with you. You cannot start growing a garden by, basically decimating all the plants that you planted last week, right? So say you put a lot of nice little tomatoes and everything in the garden, but they're just little sprouts, and you're like, you fucking sprouts, you should be growing right now, damn it. I hate you guys, right? And then you just rip them out because you just don't like the way they look. Well, you're not even letting them become what they're going to become. So that's the thing. You have to not try to be somebody else like Steve Reeves or something. You have to be your own man. You have to be yourself. You have to develop this and grow this. But it's not going to be done through some sort of hatred or comparison. So this is the thing. If my genetics were different, yes, my body would be different. Would I be big and strong in a different way? Yes, I think so. I would be strong and look good in a different way. And yes, I would put on muscle, but I would not look the exact same as I am right now. That's what I'm saying. So that's my point. Okay, so Hector Rivera, have I ever suffered from lower back pain, and how long did I wait before training again? Yeah, I suffered with lower back pain. When I was 19 years old, I herniated a disc. I was doing a lot of martial arts training, a lot of karate stuff, and then I was deadlifting improperly. I was rounding my back because I thought, okay, you have to deadlift from the floor because that's the alpha thing. And I was doing that, and my hips just don't bend that way. Not in a standard deadlift anyway. If I do the sumo, then no problem. But I was doing it the standard way, and I hadn't had much practice with it, but I actually herniated a disc. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to really get over that. But how long did it take me to be able to train again? Probably about a month after the initial injury, but it was still tender for a good 6 months after. It took me a while to actually get back in the swing of things when it came down to lower back type movements. So what I did was I trained around it. I would, do chest pad type stuff, or a lot of pull downs, or a lot of chin ups for back, and I'd be doing my chest workouts and stuff. But I had to work around this at that time. So yeah, I'd recommend now, like knowing what I know now, I'd recommend going to see a naturopath, getting some prolotherapy on the ligaments and tendons in there, seeing a massage therapist. I'd recommend all these things. And if you could do that, then your recovery time will be much quicker because you'll help get the blood flow in there at the same time as address any stretched ligaments or any issues that are going on in there at that time. And if the ligaments are healed up and they're helping stabilize the spine properly, then the muscles don't have to work quite so hard to stabilize the spine, and then the disc can start healing in some way, right? But if you keep on irritating the area over and over again, it takes a lot longer to heal. So yeah, get some help for sure. Get some help. That'll speed up the whole process. And I don't think there's a standard time for each injury because each injury is a little bit different. But if you have just a little bit of a tweak, it doesn't mean you have a herniated disc, and that'll be much quicker. You'll probably heal from that just in a few weeks, right? So if you get some massage therapy, you'll notice that it'll happen at a much faster rate. Yeah, Mirthless One. I should make some camping videos. And yeah, you know what? I live by a logging trail and stuff. I'm just waiting to get a truck at some point, and we'll see how things go. The way my work, the way this channel's going, I might have to start an Indiegogo so you guys can buy me a truck. So, because it's still really low in the subscriber count here. And the way the algorithm's going on YouTube, it's been a bit of a challenge to make any money on YouTube these days. But the fact is, I'm going to go up in the woods a little bit and then do some videos and stuff and show you how not to camp. That's probably what will happen because I'm not really much of a camper either. So this is kind of a whole new territory for me. So you're going to see me as a newbie in the woods, right? Probably getting eaten alive. Anthony, I don't give opinions on other people, so not on YouTube. Okay, so Meta Goblin's asking, I love that picture, man. I love that green on Meta Goblin. Yeah, I love the green there. That's nice, Meta Goblin. That's a nice profile picture. It's like Yoda kind of. Yeah, I like that. How can you stop your forearms from hurting and getting strained when lifting? Use some wrist wraps if you need to. If your forearms are actually getting such a beating, that means that they're getting worked quite a bit. And then maybe use some wrist wraps during some of your heavier back training lifts or shrugs and all this kind of stuff, so that way you're not using up all your forearm time on that, right? Now, if you're getting forearm strain from bench pressing and all that kind of stuff, maybe you need some massage therapy on there. Maybe you need to take a break for a day or two, get the blood flow back in the area, But like I said, I always say massage therapy. I know I sound like a broken record or a parrot, right? Squawk! Massage therapy, squawk! But massage therapy works really well. It really does, And yeah, overtraining could be the case there, Charles, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case. Just because somebody gets sore and cramped up doesn't mean they're overtraining. Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks, Nikos, for tuning in. Yeah. Yeah, and no, I'm naked and afraid style camping. Yeah, that's about the way I would feel actually camping, because I honestly have not camped for most of my adult life. I can't even, I think I camped once, maybe twice. I don't even know where to go or where would you even start. So that might make it entertaining in itself to see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, Metagoblin, that's a nice picture. I really like that picture. That's great. G Monkey, my thoughts on full body workouts. I think you must know this, G Monkey, because you've been tuned into the channel for a while. So I've been answering your comments for quite a while. But yeah, I like full body workouts. I like doing the full body and moving the blood around and everything like that. I like doing high frequency as well, and I like volume. So I like all of it. But full body workouts, as far as just training 2 to 3 days a week and then taking 4 days off, that would not be effective for me. It's just not the way my energy runs. You have to do what motivates you and what basically makes it easy for you to go through the motions, And I find say I was going to do squats, deadlifts, and bench press and everything all in one day, and then take a day off, then do it again, then take a day off, do it again, and then take 2 days off. It could work. It's not that it couldn't work. And I know a lot of people that they just shift their exercises around, or they shift their training program, and all of a sudden they get results because it's something different. But it's not really something that I think would be fun for me at this point, because I do enjoy the higher volume approach that I get some days. Like on weaker body parts, I like to throw in 10 sets or something like that. And if I'm doing a full body workout, honestly, if I'm doing a full body workout and I did 10 sets on a body part, even if it's only 1 or 2 body parts that I'm weak at, I'd probably be in the gym for over 2 hours. So it would be such a long workout. I'd be just fighting the hunger the whole time, and I just feel flat, right? So, yeah. Barbane, is a good tan essential to see the shreds? Yeah, it is. That's why guys tan up. You look basically like you're charcoal before you get on stage. When you put charcoal on and stuff and you get on stage, then the lights, they make you look like you're just tanned, right? So yeah, it does really make a difference, because the tan really helps assist with how the light shadows your physique. So yeah, if I had a tan, I'd be totally shredded. No, I wouldn't be shredded, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah. Mirthless one, how many years did it take me to get pro status? It took me 10 years. 10 years, from 14 years old to 24. That's when I got my pro card. So Princess Steph. Hey Princess Steph, if you wanna contribute a super chat, then you don't have to do the comment a million times. You can just give a couple bucks and then your comment goes right to the top, but that's okay. So anyway, the thing is, do you know what exercise to do when you have a light kyphosis? What muscles should I strengthen? You know what, I'm not a doctor and I'd have to look at it, but ultimately, I'm assuming you're saying that the front, like the hunch, right? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you mean by kyphosis? Is that? I can't remember exactly what kyphosis is. I think it is a rounding of the upper spine. Is that what you're talking about? Like it's a rounding and then an excessive arching of the lower back. Is that what that is? Yeah, okay. I would do a lot of overhead movements. Like overhead, like standing overhead presses, because the arms have to come up and you strengthen these muscles in the upper back that way. And then I would do bent over laterals, right, where I'm extending, right, the spine, upper back stuff, right? And then for the lower back thing, if the lower back is too arched, I'd focus on doing some lower ab work where basically I bend the knees. Okay, so basically say this is me, my body laying on the floor, this is the knees bent, and just rounding the lower back up, just working those lower abs quite a bit, and activating the lower abs without activating the hips or the piriformis muscle. Joseph Stalin, I know you're talking about your triceps or your elbows giving you problems with tricep movements. Close grip bench is great. I like close grip bench. Again, you know, once my shoulders went out of alignment, that really, yeah, no problem, Princess. Yeah, I'm glad I could help a little bit. Once my shoulders went out of alignment, then I find that one tricep gets more work than the other. So that's why I find that close grip bench is not the best for me at this point, but it is a great movement. Close grip bench is great for tricep development, but the isolation exercises do really hit the different heads of the triceps, because you can have arms at different angles, you know, all over the place, you know, that kind of stuff. So you will hit the tricep a little bit differently. And at the same time, the tricep will become the weak link in the exercise. Now, the thing is that I know you're having some elbow pain. Don't underestimate the tightness of the rotator cuff muscles or the upper back muscles to influence what's going on in the shoulder and also transfer pain down to the elbow. So if you take care of the tightness up here, there is a possibility that it may alleviate some of the pain that you're getting in your elbows from tricep training, all right? So just so you know, don't throw the isolations out the door just because they're hurting now, because in the future they might not hurt. It just might be the situation that's going on in this overall structure that you got going on there, right? Your muscles might be just tighter or cramped up, right? Can training hamstrings more help with a stronger deadlift? Possibly, but bending the knees is not going to help as much because it's more biceps femoris. That's not the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus, which are responsible for hip extension. But there are some things that do help, because when you train the bicep femoris, you're getting another muscle moving across the other one, and sometimes this breaks up the adhesions and allows the free flow of the movement of the semimembranosus and the semitendinosus. Those muscles that actually help hip extension, if they can move freely over the biceps femoris, then there's a possibility that it can help increase your strength. But will it cause massive strength gains? No, I don't think so. But doing reverse chain movements, where you're basically lifting the back legs like this, like on a, what do they call it? I know Joel has one upstairs at the fitness center there. It's the hyperextension, but it's a reverse hyper, it's called, where you lift the back legs under weight or tension. That's supposed to really help a lot with deadlift. Barbane, will starting to deadlift really boost your bench and squat performance? Possibly. It can boost your squat performance if your lower back is the weak link, but it also can destroy your squat performance if you start straining your lower back from deadlifting. So assuming that you're doing the deadlift for the right range for you, that it's not like the weak link in the exercise isn't your joints and ligament tissue, you're not just beating the hell out of your joints and then going to squat, then I would say, yeah, it can help. It can help your lift for sure. But if you're doing it in a way that is not good for you, that it's actually destructive to your body, if anything, it'll cause you an injury at some point. Or if you start trying to lift heavy after doing a deadlift day and then you tweak your back, that's obviously not going to help, right? So the thing is with deadlifting is that because there's so much lower back work in there and so much hamstring work in there, and then when you go to squat, you're going to notice that you're going to be much weaker when you go squat during those days, because you're still recovering from the deadlift, right? So you won't notice the gain at that point, but once you have a good 2 or 3 days off, then you will notice that your squat will go up, because it's your lower back muscles and your posterior chain is going to be much stronger, right? But I like the Romanian deadlift myself for that kind of thing, because it gives me the freedom to find the range that is right for me, so I can bend over and keep the back arched and flat, and then as soon as I feel that this rounding starts to happen, then I can come back up. And I can keep that tension right on the place where I want to keep it, right? Because let's face it, in a squat, you're never bending over more than this, right? You're never bending over more than this. So why would you, bend over like this and bend all the way to the floor? You don't necessarily have to with deadlifts in order to increase your squat. So. Okay, Sam East is asking, he's saying he has a problem when he trains. If he's not in a surplus, even just 100 calories over, he gets symptoms of overtraining when he does lower volume. Any advice? Oh, okay. So I'd say, how do you know it's a surplus then? How do you know it's 100 calorie surplus? Because you might be getting your calorie, what do you call it? Your calorie requirement from some chart somewhere, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's your calorie requirement. What if your body's just slightly different? What if your metabolism's slightly different? What if, there's a lot of ifs here. So maybe you're at a deficit. Maybe you're not even at a surplus when you're at 100 calories, right? Now, if you're putting on a lot of body fat, then I'd say maybe you're at a 100 calorie surplus, but a 100 calorie surplus is still not enough to put on a lot of body fat, because 3,500 calories is actually a pound of fat. So, yeah. So again, I'm asking you a few questions and I'll wait for your answers on that. Hey, Danny M., how are you? Mirthless one, is it okay to use the Smith machine for one-legged lunges? Yeah, that's a different type of movement, but it is still a relevant movement, but it will work different areas. When you're doing one-legged squats, or lunges you can call them, but I call them one-legged, sorry, my eyes are burning. One-legged squats, basically one-legged squats are great when you're doing them free weight, because you will work a lot of adductors and a lot of the inner thigh, right? But when you're doing a Smith machine, you'll work a little bit less of the inner thigh, because you're not stabilizing, you're not balancing anymore, but you will hit a little bit more glute. And I do think the quad becomes a little bit more of a weak link in that as well. So I like to mix them back and forth. Okay, somebody's just saying a bunch of shit here, so let me just, sorry guys, you're gonna spam then. Anonymous idiots trying to spam shit. The disrespect on YouTube is staggering. Yeah. Okay. 1 second here. Okay, so Sammy's is elaborating. He's saying, sorry, I meant if I'm not in a surplus when I'm training, I get side effects of overtraining like low libido, heavy leg aches, always tired. Yeah, well, then stay in the surplus then, you know. But the thing is, just so you know, depending on how lean you're trying to get, I don't know how lean you're trying to get or how much of a deficiency you're creating in your diet. You know, you don't have to crash diet. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're trying to lose body fat, you don't have to be going down, 500 calories a day or something. Maybe you just go down a couple hundred calories a day or something. You don't have to crash yourself, right? But the truth is, when you get down to really low body fat levels, like 5%, 4%, 6%, guess what? There's no way to make that comfortable. There's no way. It's a dirty, bloody affair. That's what that is. And yeah, your libido goes down, everything goes down because it is not a natural state to be in. That is a state that the body is under a starvation of some sort. It's not necessarily the ideal state for your body to be in. So it's not thinking about procreation. Why would your body be thinking about procreation if it thinks there is a food shortage? Ask yourself that, right? If there's a food shortage in your environment, would it be smart for a species to start reproducing? Right? This is how disconnected people are from the environment now. The body knows, right? And when there is no food in your system, the libido will go down. Because it's like, well, why would I make more people that I can't feed, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So there is a certain psychology to this. There's a certain energetic logic to it. So don't expect yourself to be, Mr. Gorilla of testosterone when you're down at 4 or 5% body fat. That's not going to happen, right? So the thing is, can you get down lean? Yes, you can, but it's not a circumstance where you're going to feel your best, because you're going in an energy deficiency. So how are you going to feel energetic when you're at an energy deficiency, right? You're trying to tap into the fat stores, and the fat stores aren't an efficient fuel source. They are not efficient as far as fuel goes. It takes a lot more work for the body to alleviate those stores or to get them out rather than to burn sugar, right? That's why hummingbirds like that, their wings are going crazy, but they drink sugar. Well, there's a reason, because that energy is readily available right now. But body fat, it's not. So that's the thing, right? Yeah. Well, Kurt Bianche, so stay fat and horny, got it. The thing is that I'm not talking about 8%, 10%, but what I'm talking about is when you're extremely lean, then, this stuff changes, right? When you're at a deficiency constantly in calories, yeah, there will be definitely a shortage of libido, right? And I actually was watching National Geographic one time, and I think it was National Geographic, but there was a show where sharks, right, they're feasting on a whale carcass, and they ate all this fat and blubber and all this food, and they had this excessive amount of calories. And the first thing they did after was mate, because they had this excessive amount of calories, and then, here you go, then the energy was going there to reproduce, right? So that's kind of the thing. Being a natural bodybuilder, this is kind of the waves that you're surfing, understanding that sitting at too lean a body fat level will hinder your gains. And that's what I made a video on that. Don't lose your gains by doing this, because some people are trying to stay ultimately shredded all the time. That's why when I was cutting a few months back, I had to decide at some point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of lean now, but I'm not shredded lean, but I can tell that my body is definitely not going to be putting on muscle at this point by training at this level of leanness. I have to make sure that I'm still making decisions to take in enough money, right? And sorry, somebody just gave me $2 and I just thought that's my money. I was thinking about food, but taking enough food. So thanks, Dan Somerville, for that. Thanks. I just read your name here. Yeah, thanks, Dan Summerhill. Thank you for that $2 there. So the bottom line is that you want to take in enough food that your body feels like it has enough, but not so much that it's storing massive amounts of body fat. So there is a balance in there, and only through experimentation can you find out, right? Yeah, Charles, 13X, that's a good idea. If the zombie apocalypse comes, you definitely want to have a little bit more fat reserves in case you have to hide in the woods for a little bit. There's that one video game online. I can't remember what it is. It's a big game, but it's this one guy, Franker, on PC plays it all the time. It seems like a pretty entertaining game, which is based on that, right? There's like zombie apocalypse and guys are hiding in the woods and they have guns and they have to get all this survival type stuff. It seems like a really neat game. If I had a PC, I'd probably play that game. Sam East, you're saying, yeah, so people that are not natural, okay, that are using drugs and stuff, that's how they stay high in their energy when cutting. And I would say also, to tell you the truth, a lot of those guys don't stay high in energy either. Like, I think it is DayZ Easy as a guy. I think that's what it is. I think it is DayZ. You're right. Yeah, that's a good video game. So Sam East, that's why some of those guys have energy, but most of them though, what they do is they even get leaner and they have no energy either. I mean, usually, you know, if you haven't competed before, a lot of people, if they haven't competed, they never really know the reality of competing. And the reality of competing is that your life for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks before a show is pretty much hell. If you're going to be at a high level of competition, getting down to that level of body fat level is not fun. It is hell. I mean, it's just, you're always hooked up to either a urinal, you know, you always got to piss because you have no carbs in your system, so there's no way of storing the water, so the water's in and out all day. And then at the same time, you're always eating every 2 hours because you're starved, because you're on a lower carb diet, so you're eating this food and stuff, and it's just, you don't have any stores, right? There's no stores. So that's why people say, hey, Jason, you're going to compete. I have a different understanding of what the reality of competing is, as instead of people thinking, oh, you just put a tan on, put some shorts on, and get on stage at gym level lean. It's not like that. If you get on stage gym level lean, you will embarrass yourself on a stage. You'll look like crap. You look like a bloated whale or a seal on stage if you're just gym lean. You have to be really shredded. And I learned that lesson the hard way at a few shows back in the day. And yeah, I had to basically just eat nothing but chicken and broccoli and onions and stuff for a month and a half, and it was torture. It was torture. I ended up lean, but man, it was torture. It wasn't easy. Drew Garton, just curious, why do I tend to train chest and back versus a standard push-pull 2-day split? Because Drew, before these things became standard, I was inventing what was standard. And now somebody came on the internet and they said, this is standard. Guess what? They were born after I was. And they started doing this after I did. So really what you should be asking is, why are they doing something that I'm not doing? That's what you should be really asking. Why are they not following my instruction? That's really the good question there, right? But the thing is that one thing I found was that when I trained legs, they took so much energy out of me. When I train legs, like squats or lunges or something, they beat the crap out of my whole system. Training another big body part like back or chest just didn't seem to make sense if I was going to lump it into a 2-day split. So I thought, okay, doing a couple smaller body parts just makes more logical sense instead of doing a bigger body part and then, not having any energy at all to put into the chest or the back workout, right? So I find it's a real challenge to get that blood from the legs to the upper body. And even then, sometimes I will train my shoulders and triceps first, then go to train legs, and then I'll change the order sometimes. Sometimes I'll train the legs first and get them out of the way because it's the hardest part of the workout. And then I'll move to shoulders or triceps, and then it'll take me a while to warm up to get the blood there and to not, be totally out of breath still because the heart rate's still going from the leg training, right? So I try to arrange the body parts when I do a training program based on what's going to give me the most efficient energy levels for those body parts, right? But if I'm training one body part and it just kicks the crap out of me so badly that I can't even train the other body parts and push them that hard, then I need to look at changing the split around. The truth is there's no right split, but that's the way I do it at that time, and that's what feels the best to me. But I have done lots of whole body workouts too, where I do chest, back, legs, arms, all that kind of stuff, right? So somebody just asked me, what does high volume mean? For me, high volume is 10 sets to 15 sets. That's what high volume means. When I do 10 to 15 sets for a body part in a workout, that's a higher volume type workout for me. My workouts on a 2-day split tend to be around anywhere from 4 to 8 sets, somewhere around there. A mirthless one, do I have a stretching routine? Not really. I've been using the foam roller at the gym now because there is one there, and then I stretch a little bit, but I don't really have a routine though. Yeah, toucan chew, if you're doing a higher volume leg workout, there's no freaking way you're going to be doing a lot of other body parts. If I'm doing 10 sets of squats or 8 sets of squats and then 4 sets of Romanian deadlifts and 4 sets of, leg extensions. I don't do leg extensions, but if you do, and then 4 sets of walking lunges or something, there's no freaking way I have any energy for anything else. It's like I am exhausted and dead after that. So yeah, I don't know how anybody could do it, but everybody's different, I guess. So yeah, you got to work with how your energy runs. Can we see a picture of you and your twin brother? Yeah, everywhere on the internet. Just look up Jason and Jamie Gallant, twin brothers, in Muscle Media magazine. You'll find me. A toucan chew, you usually take a nap after leg day? Yeah, me too. I usually take a nap after every workout. So yeah, I'm a nap guy. Which is why somebody said, Jason, you look tired in a video. Well, the funny thing is sometimes I get up from a nap and then I roll to the gym, right? So it's not like I'm, getting primed and proper, make sure my face looks good. Sometimes like the pillow was up beside my face before I actually got to the gym. So yeah. Yeah, so just, anybody that starts to, anybody that actually calls themselves Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, if you click on them and it doesn't take you to my channel, that's not me, just because I just had another person just pretend to be me here. So there's these fake accounts that are popping up on the internet, so just make sure you check first whether the person's really me or not, because there are some people that are trying to impersonate me and stuff on the internet. So this is happening on a lot of channels out there. There's just some mentally handicapped people out there that are just playing around. I don't know what they're doing, but the bottom line is that I will ban or block anyone that does that, whether they're using my profile picture or whether they're using my name or something like that or pretending to be me. They're going to be blocked. So just so you know, if you're watching this, if you want to continue to watch my content, then don't do that. Yeah, no, imitation is flattery if it's really imitation, but most of these people aren't really imitating. What they're doing is they're trying to use my picture so that way they can create fights between me and other people. And what they'll do is they'll go and slander somebody else or say something to them that I didn't say, but they'll say this stuff just so that person then comes to my channel and starts attacking me. So it's actually a type of warfare. Actually, it's not. It's a psychic attack, really. It's bullshit. It's not imitation at all. Yeah. Cameron D, where's my coffee? I have a little bit here, but it's cold. There's no. You want to get me one, Cameron? Where do you live, man? You want to drop one off? Toronto, yeah. I guess it's a little bit of a trip, eh? Yeah, no, that's right. These people should hit the gym with all the spare time. Yeah. Tim Hortons, you're a Tim Hortons guy. I'm an espresso guy. I love espresso. That's why I like Starbucks or different. There's actually a nice place here in Harrison Hot Springs called Muddy Waters. It's actually pretty good. So I like going there. Okay, so Sam East is there a calorie surplus where you get the benefits of extra energy, strength with really minimal body fat level increase? I'm 12%, but don't want to have to cut again. Yeah, basically what you do is that you eat enough food. So you start with about 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. So you spread your meat and your chicken and your fish and all this kind of stuff throughout the day for that. And then what you do is you add your handful of lower glycemic carbs. The lower glycemic, the better. Like say it's yam and sweet potato, oatmeal. These are great carbs. If you have some sugary type carbs or higher glycemic carbs, then you have those after a workout, right? But ultimately what you would do is you would have these carbs throughout the day, so you'd stabilize that blood sugar level. Now, as you're eating like this, I would just eat whatever you want. I would just eat as much of certain foods as you want and then see what happens to your body at the end of the week, right? Just measure it. Do the body fat calipers, whatever. And if you notice that you start to put on some body fat, then what you do is just take 1 meal of carbs away and then eat the same way for the rest of the day, right? And then you can monitor this way, but that's the way I did it. I didn't do it through looking at charts and stuff because charts can be inaccurate for you, right? Hey, Rahul, how are you? Charles 13X, what brands of machines are my favorite? My gym has hoist gyms and they're pretty good. The seat moves up and you perform your rep to try and keep you centered. It feels like you're doing a free weight. Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of experience with machines lately, at least not with the name brands. I mean, I'll use them, but yeah, no, I do like certain Smith machines, Some Smith machines are good, some are horrible. I like some hammer strength type stuff. Some hammer strength's good. Some Apex stuff is okay. But yeah, there's one actual rear delt machine at Murph's gym right now that I'm training at, which is unbelievably smooth and really nice. I really like the angle of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically find out the name of that and then I'll tell you. Okay, just blocking some idiot again. All right, just another day on YouTube. Okay, Danny M, what do I think about taking mini cuts like for a few weeks or so to lean out a bit? Yeah, sometimes that's what I'll do is I'll basically just watch my diet. I notice, okay, I'm a little bit fatter right now. Okay, I need to cut back on my calories when it comes down to energy food or something, eat a little bit higher proportion of protein. And yeah, I totally 100% think that that's better. It's easier to manage a garden as it grows instead of just wait till it gets totally out of hand and then have to bring in an excavator, right? So I think the same thing applies to your diet and your training and your physique, right? Rahul Agarwal, is it necessary to go for anabolic? So I guess he's saying, is it necessary to go to a natural route? No, I didn't do the unnatural route, Rahul. So it's not necessary. But remember, when you choose to be a natural, drug-free bodybuilder, you're choosing the longer, harder road, but there's bigger rewards for it. What you gain, it'll be easier for you to maintain, and there won't be this other type of side effects and stuff that you may have to deal with. Not to mention the psychological side effects that could possibly pop up. But the fact is that you're choosing the hard road, but it's the road that gives you the bigger gains, okay? So it's a harder road. 3 years of training in the gym is not a long time, especially if you don't know what you're doing. When you've only been training for 3 years, sometimes if you have been around people like myself or like a lot of people here that are watching, perhaps you would have the right information, or perhaps you're getting information that really helps you grow muscle and eat properly. But if you're not around that, if you're not blessed with that privilege of being around some people that have some experience that's more than yourself, then yeah, it'll be harder for you to make gains in the gym, no doubt. But is it necessary for you to go the unnatural route? No, it's not. But just know that being a natural bodybuilder means that your body will develop and there will be limitations, but those limitations can still be great too. Okay, so Drew Garton, Drew, how you doing, buddy? Would I say is there any benefit to mixing up low glycemic carb sources? Should I try to vary sources, brown rice, potatoes, quinoa, or would it be easier to just cook a ton of sweet potato? I think that it's just going to be based on your own experience. Brown rice is definitely not in the same level when it comes down to, at least that's what I found with my own diets. I found that brown rice is going to be a lot closer to high glycemic or medium to high than yam. Yam is going to be at a much more stable level. It's going to be better for losing body fat and maintaining a certain body fat level. A lot of guys don't cut on brown rice. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So that said, is it good to mix things up? I think just to keep from getting bored. Yeah. I think it's nice to have some different tastes in your day and stuff. But yeah, it just boils down to you. It's going to be more convenient just to make a whole pile of something and a whole pile of something and then just eat that 5 times a day. That might be easier, and that's sometimes what I tend to do. But you have to go with your own personality on this and see what works for you, right? Okay, so Rahul Agarwal, in your country, he says in his country he doesn't have trainers that train their clients to help them. They see money everywhere. They just take their fees and don't give any advice or training plan. Then why do people give them money if there's no advice? I don't understand why there's an exchange of money. I thought that would be the whole point of giving somebody money, that if they're training you anyway. Anyway, on my channel, I give a lot of free advice. All my videos are free. I do consultations on my website. Very rarely, but once in a while somebody wants to do a consultation, so I do that. And yeah, I try to give as much free advice as I can on my channel. And then I do have workout programs available on my website for cheap, right? So yeah. Don't give money to somebody though if they say, "Hey, I'm going to give you a meal," and then you're like, "Okay, well here's your $5," and then they don't give you the meal. Well, then stop giving them money. Don't give money if they're not going to give you the service, right? Yeah, that wouldn't make sense. Yes, no, intensity is important. That's right. So, yeah, no trainer can teach you that. You have to manifest that intensity inside yourself. So you do have to push yourself. You do have to go into pain and into realms of pain that you never knew existed sometimes in order to grow muscle or to change the physique as well. Yeah. Okay, so Sam East. Last question, he goes, will a surplus of 100 grams of carbs gain more weight than an excess of 100 grams of protein, or is it just calories? Yeah, 100 grams of carbs will gain more weight. 100 grams of protein will gain more muscle, depending on what situation you're in. Okay, so I'm giving a very big generality here. But I would say if you're trying to cut more, then you would not have the 100 grams of carbs. You would have the 100 grams of protein added to your diet. But I don't... I don't micromanage these things. I just say, okay, this is how much I need, because it's not about more always. Like, people think it's always about more. It's not about more. It's about enough. That's the trick. Is it enough? You see? So some people say, oh, I took zinc, or I had some magnesium on my diet, and that means I got enough magnesium today. I took 100 milligrams of magnesium, whatever it is, right? And then that doesn't mean that a whole gram of magnesium is going to get you better, or more muscle or feeling better. It's just a matter of not being deficient. So it's really the same thing with protein and carbs and stuff. It's more about, are you giving your body enough to recover from what you're doing, right? And you notice that your appetite will grow as well, right? When you clean up your diet, your appetite will grow, and then just eat more and see what happens. Eat more, see what happens, and then respond to what's happening, rather than trying to come up with 100 gram of carb, this and that, get the calculator out. This is all a waste of time. It's a waste of time. I've seen guys with little notebooks and stuff keeping track of everything, and they're usually the guys that made no gains, none. So eat food, protein, carb, or protein fat, depending on what makes you feel better, okay? And eat that multiple times throughout the day, and then see what happens to your body. And then at the end of the week, if you notice you're putting on body fat, then just cut back a little bit, but you don't have to get too obsessed with this stuff. Rahul is asking about lightweight versus heavyweight. Go to my channel, right down here. Rahul, do you know how to use YouTube? If you know how to use YouTube, then you just go down here to the magnifying glass, or click on videos, uploads, my playlists. I have playlists on weights, sets, reps, everything, all the information there. So you can go there. I talk about it in depth. So basically lightweight and heavyweight, you got to use both. Danny M, do I think full round delts can be developed with just side raises and rear delt flies for high reps with minimal shoulder pressing? Yes, I do. I think so, 100%. Especially if you're still pressing through bench presses and stuff. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Good. I think I'm pretty good. Yeah, cool, Denny. Yeah, glad to help. Yeah, Denny, shoulder presses do work the front delts, but yeah, I find that front delts almost like get lost in the blob with the chest sometimes, so it's kind of hard to see the delt gains from shoulder pressing. But if you're doing overhead, that's why when I do seated, I kind of lean back a bit. The reason why is because it's the only way the bar can travel, because otherwise the bar is going to come right through my head, right? And I don't want the bar to back and forth, like that's not really my primary movement. That doesn't seem like the most efficient way to hit the delt. It might be an efficient way to hit the upper trap or the upper neck, which is why when I do standing shoulder presses, I'm doing them like this, right? But when I'm seated, I'm leaned back, so it's just straight up and down, and that really hits the delts. Now, somebody just asked me about sugar cravings. How can you manage sugar cravings when cutting? Chromium picolinate and alpha lipoic acid. Those two supplements may help, but otherwise, stable sugar means that you want to stabilize your blood sugar through sources of carbs that are low glycemic, right? Now, if you're on one thing that you'll notice is that if you're on a low carb diet with medium fat, but really low carb, you'll notice that your blood sugar won't go up and down, so your sugar cravings will actually go down quite a bit. So you may notice that you might respond better to a moderate fat diet with high protein or medium protein or whatever it is that you do, and green vegetables, right? So if you're a person that just falls for sugar cravings all the time, perhaps a fat diet will be better for you, a fat and protein diet. Mataja is asking about what I think about Arnold's pullovers to expand rib cage and doing wide grip chins to spread the scapula and make you wider. You know, anything that works the muscles is going to help build muscle, right? But as far as expanding the rib cage and stuff, that's just, he's just got to genetically expand a rib cage. That isn't the actual exercise. I never found any of that kind of stuff. I never felt that my rib cage ever expanded from that. I did the exercises, but I never found that there was a bone structure change really that much. Yeah. Yeah, the gaming scientist asks, how do you know if you're eating enough to gain size? I'm 17, been working out for 2 years, 4 times a week, but not gaining the amount of size I want. Okay, first of all, there's two words in there that throw me off a little bit here. You go, I want. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, you want, like, everybody, like, I might want a Ferrari by working at McDonald's, you know what I'm saying? But is that a reasonable expectation? So first of all, we have to find out, is that a reasonable expectation that you have about the gains you want? So first of all, you have to start with what's realistic. As a natural bodybuilder, what's realistic for you to gain? If you're gaining 5 or 10 pounds a year, you're doing great. You are doing great as a natural bodybuilder. So the thing is, if your diet is supporting that, then you're already succeeding. So don't throw yourself under the bus just because you think you're not succeeding, because you have this unrealistic expectation based on you seeing some football player or somebody out there that, you know, might not be natural or whatever, and then you're saying, okay, I gotta meet that expectation. I gotta get as big as them in 2 years, right? Because that's pretty much the mentality of most human beings on the planet. They want everything yesterday, and they want to put in only minimal amount of work to do it. So that said, if you are making gains, then you're eating enough. Now you can try eating more, and if you're eating more food, like more protein, more carbs and stuff, and you start, like I just said earlier in this video, okay, this is like I'm repeating myself all the time, but if you're starting to put on a lot of body fat, that means you're eating too much carbs or too much fat. So you might have to replace some of that with protein. That's really how you find out. But you basically just watch what's happening with your body. That's what you do. You watch what's happening. That's how you know. I've never found that people are interested in experimenting with themselves. That's the most important thing, is you want to experiment and gain experience. That's how you'll gain wisdom. So start eating. You know, design your program, write it down. Say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat like 200 grams of protein a day, 150 grams of protein a day. I'm going to eat my carbs every meal. Design it. And then start to change some of those parameters. Start to add a little bit of protein or add a little bit of carbs and say, okay, how do I feel? What's happening with my body? And conduct these experiments, and then you will see what's going on. Now, there's just some general rules around diet that really help. When you have about 1 gram per pound of body weight, that seems to work really well for recovery overall, right? And it seems to generally apply to most athletes. And having carbs is going to give you some energy. And sometimes when you're growing, you know, if you're 17 years old, you might need a little bit more fat. You might need a little bit more of something in your diet because you're also growing with bones and, you know, all these other things are going on in your system at that time. So being under a cut type circumstance might not be the most ideal place for you in order to develop, okay? So eating healthy doesn't mean going to a deficit. So don't concern yourself too much with getting too lean. That's the one piece of advice I give to a person that's starting off as a teenager. But at the same time, make sure that you're eating. If you're hungry, eat. And eat protein, eat carbs. Eat protein and low glycemic carbs. Yams, oatmeal, potatoes, and just start shoveling that stuff in, right? And then if you start gaining fat, then just cut back on the carbs a little bit and replace with protein. Then I think you'll be good. And some green vegetables, of course, and some fruit. Fruit is good. As far as berries and apples and things, these are good because they bring in some vitamins and stuff and different types of sources of minerals, right? So you want to do that. You do have to eat, 100%. So yeah, you're saying, how do you know? Well, eat more and see what happens. That's it. Just conduct the experiment, right? Nobody's going to tell you. Like, I don't have you in front of me. I haven't watched you in the gym for a month or two. But you have to basically find out for yourself. You have to experiment with your food. You have to start eating. And then the food will tell you whether it's enough or not, right? Your body will tell you. But eating more isn't always better. You want to eat enough, but if you eat too much, you're going to be putting on body fat. So that's how you know that you're eating just too much carbs or fats, right? Rudy Espinoza, do you need cardio to burn fat? No, but cardio does help burn fat because you're burning that as an energy source. So there is some fat burning going on with that. But I've leaned up for shows without it. Tobias Jakowski, ephedrine's banned in natural bodybuilding, just so you know. I know it's something that's used in asthma medication and everything. It's a bronchial dilator, and it does burn body fat and stuff, but it can give you a freaking heart attack sometimes too, right? So ephedrine can be It's used in cold, like pseudoephedrine is like a form of that that's used in cold medicine and stuff like that. But ephedrine itself, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not really good for the prostate and everything. It's not good for the heart. I wouldn't recommend revving up the system in order to burn body fat. I'd recommend just learning how to eat properly. There's really no shortcuts, right? Thanks, gaming scientist. Thanks, buddy. He's being positive here. Man, it's nice to have some positive people. Sometimes if you notice I get on here and I almost have a bit of a shield up, it's because I'm usually ready for a barrage. Because like, as you notice when I'm clicking at the screen, it's like I'm already like deleting people, getting rid of people. Because whenever I do these live things, I never know what's going to happen because there's always a massive amount of love and hate. And it's just these two monsters coming at me at the same time. So, sorry about that. If I come off a little bit more grainy than in my videos, but that's kind of what I'm doing. Okay, great. Okay, Gary Duarte is saying he's 55 in the best shape of his life and getting stronger every week. Should I continue to push myself my age or should I back off a little? Well, Gary, if it's working, if you're not getting pain in the joints and stuff, why not? Why? You're not dead yet. You still got another 30 or 40 years in you, right? I'd say still push yourself, but make sure you monitor and pay attention. Just like I'd say to a guy that's 20 or 30, you know, maybe different symptoms or different things come to you. Maybe you feel some joint pain or something like that. Well, okay, make decisions in your training based on that. And don't push through joint pain. Don't push through stuff that is not good pain. But definitely, this is not a time to give up. I think at 55, you can still be doing good. I mean, there are some studies out there that have shown that people that are 80 years old still make strength gains. So I think, why not? Why not push yourself? Just push yourself smart. That's the whole point of being 55. You should have a little bit of wisdom now about your body that guys that are first starting training might not have, right? Jacob Lundell, for a natty, full body or bro split. He's been training for 3 years, and when he does full body, his strength explodes, but his muscle mass seems to disappear a bit. Okay, the reason why is because I talked about this. I talked about it a little bit in does frequency build strength, you know, through higher frequent training, and I did a video on this. So definitely, guys, go back to my library of videos here. I've got over 300 of them. Please check them out because I've got so much information in there, and it's all free information. So you'll get a lot of answers that you might not expect. You might be thinking, oh, this is just another video on the title. Well, actually, I cover many subjects in every video, and the title is just a general outline of something that I think would be good that I've covered in the video, but there's usually 3 or 4 topics that I've covered. So the fact is that when you do a higher volume type workout, you will get more carb storage and give the appearance of more muscle mass. So that's one thing that happens, right? So you're getting more glycogen storage, so it makes you feel like, oh, I'm bigger all of a sudden. But the fact is that the strength gain that comes from the higher frequent training has to do also with coordination. Okay, it's not always about strength like from the muscle itself. It's actually coordination, just that you become more coordinated. You got a better groove. And because you have that better groove, now your strength is up, okay? So now what you want to do is you want to combine that strength with the strength endurance. So basically you do the strength, you get stronger. Now you can rep out more with heavier weight and do more volume. And that pumping of that muscle and that glycogen load will lead to an overall gain in muscle mass. So they're both good. That's why I recommend, like I have a 3-day split on my website. I wouldn't have it on there if I think it was stupid. It's actually another relevant way of training. It's just a different way. It will push a different part of the system and actually cause muscle gains in a different way, right? So when you're doing higher frequent training, you'll notice that your coordination is better. Maybe your cardio is not as much of a weak link because you're training legs 3 times a week instead of once. So you're not out of breath when you're training legs. You feel like you're more in shape. You at the same time have a better groove, so you're more efficiently using your groove, and then you're able to lift heavier weight. And because of this, now you're pushing different muscle fibers. Maybe the fast twitch fibers are getting pushed that wouldn't get pushed before, right? So this strength and using endurance training with that, this is what leads to overall muscle mass. So it's this symphony of those two things that are going on that actually creates muscle. So you're not doing anything wrong. You've just discovered a phenomenon that's going on, and both are relevant in your bodybuilding career. Mirthless one, do I take any supplements? I have a video on this, supplements that I take, and it's down there. But I do take a vitamin supplement here and there, but I'm going to get some different vitamins pretty soon here because I do feel like I need it sometimes. I take BCAAs once in a while. Haven't taken them that much. I actually been staying away from supplements, except for I also have a video on the whey protein I'm taking right now. I like whey protein right now. Okay, so Drew Gartman do you think there's a rebound effect after cutting low body fat percentage? And is it beneficial putting on lean mass? I think so. And I read this article in Muscle Media years ago, and TC Loma wrote that, and it was a phenomenon that they were talking about where people that competed tend to put on more muscle mass, not just because they're competing, but also because they get leaned down and then they go through this period of time where the body almost rebounds and is able to put on a bit more muscle. It does seem like that happens, to tell you the truth. I do think that there's a possibility that there is a rebound type effect from getting super lean, and then the body becomes really receptive to soaking up the protein and the food that you're taking in after you're on a cut. Now, I think one of the reasons why this might be is because when you're on a cut is that you're basically stabilizing that blood sugar so much so that your insulin receptors may become very sensitive, and your body becomes more receptive to your own insulin production. So it's the opposite of diabetic, right? So when you're really receptive to your own insulin production, insulin can be a very anabolic thing in your own body. So when your body is healthy with blood sugar that way, it will have a tendency to recover better and put on more muscle. So really you could think of getting lean as almost like a temporary cleanse. It could almost be looked at as a temporary cleanse or a fast of some sort. And because of that, I think it does help reset some of the systems in the body, and it may actually help with putting on a little bit of muscle mass. Cameron D, what are my plans for the YouTube channel in the future? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to continue making videos, and I don't know though. I don't know. Honestly, it's really confusing right now because it seemed like my channel was going, pretty busy for a bit there. But now when YouTube had this whole Google AdSense thing change and the algorithms are changing, it seemed like almost like it's not promoting my channel that much. So I'm having a real hard time with adding subscribers. And of course, the reason why this matters is because the only way I can actually make this channel sustainable from all the work that I'm putting into it is that if it starts to get some sort of growth of some sort, right? And Google advertising is so low right now that it's not really paying me enough to even justify jumping online. To tell you the truth, I should be doing something else. So the thing is that I enjoy the creative aspect of this, so that's really what I will do. But sometimes when I'm not getting any sort of positive feedback from YouTube or from the community in some way, then sometimes I'll just get creative and start doing something weird and random. So then it becomes more about me. Then I start saying, okay, I'll write the book that I want to read instead of answering questions for people, right? So I find that I've done a lot of tutorial videos. I've done a lot of videos answering people's questions and a lot of things to help people out. But at some point, I guess I have to find out what is a bigger thing that's going to cater to a larger group or an audience of people. So I really also ask you guys, what do you want to see? What is it something that you want to see that's worth you sharing with your community or people you know? What would get you excited about the channel? What would say, oh my God, you got to check out Natural Gallant Bodybuilding? That's really the question I give you. And then that would be the type of content that I want to make. Because I don't want to make content that nobody watches. I mean, that's just not very encouraging, right? It's one of those things. When you make content, you want people to see what it is you're doing, right? Hey, Dwight, how are you? Yeah. So, Canadian Giant too. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. So I try singing my songs. Yeah, I don't know if that would attract any content there, Noah. I don't know if that would attract any subscribers. I'd probably get rid of a few. I mean, maybe that's what I'm going for. Maybe I'll try to sing in there and maybe I'll get rid of some of the hate, eh? Yeah, Drew Garton, you want to see a 12-week documentation thing where I get ready for a show or something. Yeah, that's the thing. 12 weeks. Getting ready for a show is one of those things where I'm not exactly excited about doing a show. I'm not excited about it at this point. At some point it might happen, but I'm just not at a place where I think that it would be enough reward for the effort at this point. But I'm not saying I won't change my mind on that, but at this point it seems like not the right place to put my energy in. But thanks for giving me that feedback because I'll keep that in mind, right? Tobias Jakowski, there are no gyms close to my house. There's one gym that's a 50-minute drive that I haven't checked out, but I'm actually training in Chilliwack, which is a 25-minute drive. That's at Murph's Gym in Chilliwack there, and it's a really good gym. That gym's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Charles 13X, you're saying all I got to do is have a guest live stream with another popular fitness YouTuber and your channel will double instantly. Okay, so that's like saying all you have to do to promote your book is just get on Oprah. It's just that easy, right? Right? It's like all you got to do if you want $1 million is just talk to Santa Claus, right? Yeah, that's not the way it works, right? Because the thing is, most people on YouTube now, they're all businesses, right? So basically, the last thing they're going to do is basically just look at my channel and say, oh, I want to give my subscribership to you. I want to give my viewership to you, right? It's like competing television stations. So a lot of these collaborations that you see between two channels, they're usually of similar size. And so they basically are both benefiting each other and trading viewers across or trading subscribers. But it's definitely a business, right? So yeah, I appreciate your suggestion, but at the same time, I've reached out to some people and they basically told me to F off. You know, that's basically the response I got from some of the popular guys. You know? So yeah. Yeah, Charles 13X, if you find a guy that's willing to do a collab with me that wants to, then I'm all for it in some way, if they've got some sort of subscribership or something. But most likely I understand why they're not. You know, there was one popular YouTuber out there that's saying, I want to help the little guy. I'll check your videos out, send me your videos, and he never even actually watched the thing. You know, so yeah. Anyway, there's always opportunities that come, but ultimately what I'm focused on is not about getting the fly-by-night type of thing. I want people that are actually benefiting from this channel. And so far, there have been a tremendous amount of people that have been benefiting from the training programs and from what I'm doing. And I know that over time, as this builds, there's going to be such a large amount of good feelings about that it will create something. It'll become its own, you know, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man marching through the city of destruction or something. I don't know. It'll become pretty big at some point. But, you know, if you help enough people, then it all comes around, right? But yeah, YouTube is definitely one of those things. I guess every social media site has its own psychology or own way of promoting and its own way of getting out there, right? So I'm still learning that, but yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that are behind the scenes that a lot of people don't really realize about running a channel, right? Gary Duarte, who are my favorite YouTube fitness guys or gals? I don't have any. I don't really watch them, to tell you the truth. Yeah. What if too? He has a pain in his triceps and he says, what am I going to do? Go to a massage therapist. Like I said earlier in this thing, if you go to a massage therapist, that will help, possibly. Okay, so they're the masters of the muscle. Those massage therapists can really actually help you with the muscle stuff. So as they take a look at the tricep, they may see if it's the tricep pain is coming from a muscle knot in there or coming from a rotator cuff tightness. Maybe there's a referral of pain. Because what a lot of people don't know too is that if you have a knot here, it can refer pain all the way down to the joint or into the muscle. It can actually refer pain. People don't even know that. I didn't know it either until I went to the massage therapist when I was 22 and I had this tearing pain down the side of my leg. And I went to a physiotherapist, which was full of shit. This guy was saying, oh, it's just an IT band tightness. Nothing to do with that. It had to do with a referral of trigger points that were going down the spine and down the side of the hip and then down into the side of the leg and creating this feeling or sensation of tearing. But nothing was tearing. It was just, there was a dysfunctional alignment of muscle knots that were referring pain. So this phenomena of trigger points is a standard thing. If you have a trigger point, this muscle knot, it can, as you activate that muscle, it can refer pain down somewhere and give you the illusion that there's a serious injury in that area. So that's why I always recommend massage therapy or acupuncture or naturopath or something. It really does help. Yeah, James Cowan, you recently switched to 4 full body workouts a week, and if anything feels stiff or sore, uses higher reps. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good strategy. If something feels stiff or sore, just use higher reps. That's a good strategy for sure. Okay, Cameron D, Jason, for you, bodybuilding versus hockey. If you could do number one hockey just for pure love, what would you choose? I would choose hockey. Hockey every day of the week. I would choose hockey. I'd lift weights for hockey, don't get me wrong, but hockey is just, you know, with bodybuilding, I love training. Don't get me wrong. I will always train, always lift weights. But if we're going to talk about bodybuilding or hockey versus a career, bodybuilding is like a massive amount of torture for 8 weeks with a diet and starvation, basically, for a competition. And then you're back in the gym training and then you get ready for competition. And that's great. But hockey, there's more devastating injuries. These guys get dislocated shoulders, knee injuries, back injuries, all that kind of stuff. But basically, hockey's got that immediate excitement and fun and the smell of the ice and the feel of the skating and everything. It's a beautiful sort of experience. So I'd say hockey would be more of a fun pro career for the love of it if you're going to do it for a job. Now, if you're doing it just as a hobby, I prefer the way I feel from weight training as far as the puffiness, the muscles and stuff. I like that. And hockey, I really like the feeling when I'm actually doing the cardio. I have this nice rush after. So it's just unfortunate that you just can't be good at both. It's very hard to be good or elite at both at the same time. So that's why I had to kind of choose which one I wanted to do. The other thing about hockey is that because the injuries are so devastating, it's harder to do as a hobby because everything's fine, but then one day you snap something and then you got to get surgery to deal with it because the velocity's involved and how people get tangled up and fall awkwardly in the boards. Sometimes it can be a little bit rough, right? But I love it. Hockey's great. Good exercise for your back, bend over rows. Mirthless one, if I was going to train shoulders, I'd train them after chest. Always train them after chest because chest needs some shoulders in order to get pushed, but shoulders doesn't need chest to get pushed. You know what I'm saying? So if you fatigue the shoulders first, what will happen is the shoulders will hit failure long before the chest does. So you want to make sure you train chest first. Under most circumstances, I mean, you can play around with it if you want. I'm not saying you can't, but under most circumstances, I would say that. Yeah. So you're just blocking somebody trying to do a virus on here again. Rahul Agarwal, do you need trainers? I think you need somebody. If you want to make fast progress, you need somebody that's already tread the path before you. I was lucky. I had a father that was a powerlifter, so he taught me some basics right in the beginning. And then from there, I always had people that I talked to in the gym and learned from at the same time as I was training and see what their advice, if it's relevant or not. But I always you learn from other people. Yeah, it's way faster. It's way faster to learn from somebody that has experience or has been an expert in that field at one point or another. You can get a tremendous amount of advice, and it would speed track your progress like crazy. Like there were clients that I worked with years ago when I was personal training, and they had been training on and off for years, and they just could never get a certain amount of results. But once they trained with me, it was like the results tripled because there were all these little ways of fine-tuning the exercise, the range of motion, the diet, everything, the sleep. You know, sometimes they were making decisions in their life that was killing their gains in the gym, and they didn't really ever make that connection, and I could make that connection right away for them. And then they're like, oh my god, I didn't even realize, oh wow, this is like night and day training now that I'm not running a marathon every second day. Now it's like night and day. I feel strong in the gym, you know. So there's a lot of little tricks, little things that a person that has experience will know, and that's really helpful. So yeah, do you need a trainer? You don't have to have one, but it's a longer path if you don't, right? Yeah, no problem, Scott Brick. I'm glad you like the channel. Thanks. Oh, Friday March. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. And Sean, yeah, thanks for reading my book there, big guy. Yeah. People ask me, are you going to write a book on training or working out? The reason why I haven't written a book on training or working out is because it's a long endeavor. Like writing a book is not an easy thing. It takes quite a while, right? It's at least a month or two of writing to write a decent book, and then editing. You got to edit it and then put it up there, and you know you only make a couple dollars when you sell it or something. It's not really for the amount of time it takes to make that product. It's a lot of effort. Sometimes I have to manage my energy, where it's going, whether I'm making videos and training or music and stuff, and I have to make sure that I'm putting my energy into something that is relevant. And the thing is, the most relevant thing for a YouTube channel is to continue putting up content. Otherwise, you guys will go somewhere else and you're like, okay, well, this guy's not putting up videos this week. Oh, screw it. I'll maybe see him in 10 years or something, right? So the main thing that makes everything go around is to service the audience in the best possible way. And sometimes that is through making a video, not necessarily through writing a book. So at some point I may write something down. We'll see. But I'm not guided to do it at this point. But yeah, in the future, maybe something will come. Okay, so if we are on vacation and we can't make it to a gym for 1 month, how much muscle are we going to lose? I don't know, it just depends how much muscle you have. How much muscle do you have? If you can't make it to a gym for a month, it's easy to lose about 10 pounds. But the thing is, a lot of the weight loss is just glycogen loss. So your body stores carbohydrates and glycogen energy in the muscle. And a lot of that comes back within about a week. So it's nothing to really be concerned about because muscle memory does exist. It's like if you lose something, then you can get it back really quickly. So sometimes that month off can give you some added recovery. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe you do a different type of exercise. Maybe you're just doing some light cardio or something. And then you come back to the gym. Maybe you'll make better results because you're refreshed, right? Nothing to worry about really. Jason, how will you be able to watch UFC with Nihan and the other guys now that you're far away? I won't. I left them all behind, yeah. I'm about an hour drive away from them now, hour and 10 minutes. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm looking at putting a bigger gym in my garage. I'm looking at doing some stuff in there. So we'll see what happens. I may have some people out here once in a while and then do video footage of that, of us all training and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm like new to this area now. I've only been here for a few weeks now, and it's like we still need to get furniture for the house, still need to set it up and stuff. And yeah, we're getting acclimated right now. So my daily patterns and things will change, and I know that this is going to influence the way the channel is too, and what I'm doing with the content. So yeah, it's kind of weird. Actually, it's weird. Like you change houses and you think, oh, everything just stays the same. You just change your house, but it's actually, no, the house changes your pattern. It changes how you relate. It changes to what your daily movements or energies or how they're going. It just, because now my daily pattern is different. I go to the gym more during the day than at night because the highway is just a nightmare to drive on, late at night because it's like got this S curve and the weather, if it's raining or whatever, you can't see the lines on the road. So in order to survive, I'm probably going to be driving out there more during the day because I think my survival may help the channel. Although if I don't survive, maybe the channel will grow because of a martyr sort of thing. I don't know, but but I don't want to grow the channel that way. I don't think that's an effective way to do it. So Rudy Espinoza is saying, how many exercises per body part? Two or three usually. But it depends how many times a week you're training a body part. If you train a body part 3 or 4 days a week, you get away with one exercise for the body part and then changing exercise each time you work it. Great, okay. Gaming Scientist, 2 or 4 day split. On my website, I have the 2-day split, so you can check that out. 2-day split on my website. 4-day split is more like the bro split. It's kind of like the 3-day split. That's fine, but I always found that 4-day splits were too long in between the time that I trained, and especially for legs. If I train legs on Monday, then the next time I train legs was for like Saturday, because do 4 days and then take 1 day off, then do Saturday. I found that there was too much time off. It was almost like I was out of shape by the time I came to legs again. And then at the same time, I was cringing because I was like, oh my God, I got to do so many sets for legs. I don't want to go to the gym today, right? From a longevity standpoint, which do you feel is able to be continued as you age? Powerlifting, bodybuilding, or weightlifting? I think bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is the best possible sport for longevity in the way that it doesn't tell you exactly how you have to train, and that's why I say it's the best one for longevity reasons. Powerlifting, you have to squat parallel or ass to the floor depending on the way you train, or you have to touch your chest with a bench, or you have to do the 3 movements, deadlift, squat, and bench press. Where bodybuilding says it doesn't matter what movement you do, as long as you're feeling it and you're actually getting muscle contraction and you're growing the muscle, then whatever works, do that, right? So under those circumstances, I find bodybuilding allows you to go with the changes that happen in life naturally, whether it's an event, whether you have a car accident, whether something happens to you and then your body changes a little bit and you're like, okay, I can't move in this way at this point, but I want to still work my chest. Maybe I can't bench press. Okay, well, maybe I'll fly instead or something. You know what I'm saying? So bodybuilding does allow that flexibility, and that's why I think bodybuilding is easier to age with. Russell Mitchell, I'm going to be getting your 2-day split soon. However, when I do higher frequency, I feel like my strength decreases throughout the week. Is it normal, or am I pushing too hard? You might be doing too much volume, Russell. And at the same time, when you first start training more frequently, you will notice that you're just a little bit sore from the last workout all the time. So the idea is when you get in the gym, it isn't to be at your optimal performance. That's the funny thing. Like when people train, they always think that they're supposed to be PRing every time they go in the gym, but that's actually not training. Training isn't PRing. PRing is when you say, I'm going to take multiple days of rest to make sure I'm totally recovered and then PR, do a personal record, right? that's when you're ultimately recovered. But the whole goal of training is to always need a little bit of recovery, always be a little bit behind in the recovery. So that way the body is forced to constantly try to catch up and adapt. So I found I got more results when I was just slightly sore every time I trained a body part, instead of training the body part when I'm fully recovered and almost flaccid at that point, you know, like no pump, you know. That's why I find that training that way is better. Like I used to have a karate instructor, and he'd see me when I go to the karate, arena, and I was like in the dojo, and I was throwing kicks and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you look a little tight today." Well, meanwhile, I just came from the gym squatting 500 pounds for reps, low bar squats, and that's why my legs were tight. And then he'd say, "Oh, your legs are tight today. Oh, that squatting's not good." Well, when I went to the karate tournament 2 days later, my legs were like lightning. Well, why? Because I had trained with the 5 plates, but that day I was on a training day, so that's why I wasn't at my optimal. So your goal as a person that's training in the gym is not necessarily to be your optimal. It's to push your hardest, but you're always going to be a little bit behind. That's the thing I find is the best. Being a little bit behind is the best in your recovery. Just a tiny bit. Not too much, but just a tiny bit. Ray Jimenez, thanks for the $5. Is it necessary to train traps, abs, and forearms directly? Do the compounds hit them enough? They always have hit them enough for me. So this might be different for you, Ray. But I find that forearms, I always worked lots just from gripping the bars and stuff. And you'll see in a couple of video, like I got so much video footage coming your guys' way. Like I got a lot of Champion Athletic Club video footage that I still haven't used. And then I've got Murph's gym footage. So just bear with me as I use this different footage, because it's all good footage. I don't want to, just throw it away just because it's not, happening yesterday. But I will be using all this training footage. But the bottom line is that you'll see when I'm doing bent over rows, I'm using a weight like 275 or 2 plates or whatever, or stiff-legged deadlifts, or Romanian deadlifts, sorry. And my forearms are given out after 10 or 11 reps. So I did a couple sets like that, totally killed my forearms, and then I put on wrist straps, and then I go for sets of 25 reps, right? So that seems to work my forearms more than enough, and I get a lot of trap work from doing deadlift type work or doing bent over rows, or you can see the playlist. I have a playlist down below on how to train certain body parts, so you can actually take a look at that, and there is a number of different videos on how to isolate different body parts. But as far as ab training goes, I actually did some push-ups the other day with the rings, gymnastics rings from the floor, and my abs were sore from that. Like I like that kind of stuff, but direct ab work I find I don't really get too much out of. I don't really feel the urge to do it. Some people love it, they do it, and I think they can get some benefit. Maybe your abs will get more development from it, but I never needed to, so I never bothered. Cameron D, when creating a training program, does it matter which body parts you train together for a two body part or day program? I don't think there's ever an always, Cameron. So it's good to change it up all the time. That's the only always I give you, is that you don't always have to train back and biceps. You don't always have to train chest and triceps. Maybe you can train chest and biceps and then back and triceps. It's just mixing it up. I think mixing it up is important. You don't have to do it any one way though. Yeah, Sam East. Man, you're barraging me, Sam. Man, you're barraging me with questions here, Sam. Anyway, he goes, when he's doing seated dumbbell shoulder press, he can do 75s for 8 to 10 reps, but he can't get the 80s up. Any advice? I did a video on this, how to get the dumbbells up. Take a look. Click down below. Sam, right down there. Come on, man. Come on, guys. Watch my freaking videos, man. Come on, watch my videos. Anyway, how to get the dumbbells up. I show you how to get the dumbbells up there. All right? That'll help. Okay. Crocodile, what's my deadlift max? I don't deadlift from the floor, Crocodile, because I find it's not good for my lower back because I have to bend over so much to do it. It's just my hips and my long femurs. I'm not really built for that. I've done 455 for 4, but I never really got into deadlifting that much because it just never felt right for my lower back. It felt like the damage done to my ligaments and spine wasn't in alignment with the damage done to the muscles. It was like exponentially bigger for the joints. So I do more Romanian deadlifts. So I'll do sets of 275 to 3 plates for sets of 20 reps for Romanian deadlifts, right? So that's usually what I work with deadlifting. What's my favorite body part to train? Right now is chest. My favorite body part to train is chest, yeah. It changes sometimes though. Sometimes it's biceps or triceps or back, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, well, I think I've done enough now today. I've been on here for 110 minutes almost. And so thanks a lot for watching, guys. And remember, every week on Saturday, hey, Mirthless One, legs. I always train legs, but yeah, it hurts a lot. It won't be my favorite body part to train, though. Yeah, legs hurt. They look great, but they hurt, yeah. So anyway, I'll be online again for a live chat next Saturday. Every Saturday I'm going to be online, Pacific time around 12 to 2 o'clock, somewhere around there. And then at the same time, I will be putting up videos all week. So make sure you guys keep tuning in, okay? All right? So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you soon.